Welcome to the program. Thank you so much for joining us on At Issue. I'm H. Wayne Wilson, and for the next half hour we're going to be talking about hotels, and one hotel in particular, or at least a hotel that might be built in downtown Peoria. To discuss that, we have four people who have varying interest in the hotel industry. Let's start first with introducing you to Bud Greaves. Bud is the owner of the Mark Twain Hotel in downtown. Thank you for being here, Bud.
Thanks for having me.
And he brings another particular perspective in that you, of course, are a past mayor, so you know how the
Correct.
city works.
Exactly.
Peter Corey is here. Peter is a local historian, but he's here because you're the chair of the Civic Center Authority Board. So we welcome you.
Thank you.
Bill Fady is joining us. Bill is the co-owner of the Ramada, which is located out by the Northwoods Mall. Thank you for being here, Bill.
Thank you.
And Craig Hullinger is here. We don't know whether to call him Hullinger, which is the correct pronunciation, or Hullinger, so we'll say Hullinger. Economic Development Director for the City of Peoria, and the creator, if I may use that term, of the Hospitality Improvement Zone, which we will talk about momentarily. But Craig, I want to talk with you first about a downtown hotel. Is there a plan, or has there been discussion about a new additional hotel in downtown Peoria on the block bounded by Main, Fulton, Madison, and Monroe?
Well, I've been here about 3 years, and I think we've had at least 6 or 7 proposals or hoteliers that have looked at investing in Peoria. And that's one of the reasons we created this tax increment financing district and the business development district to support the revamping and the rehabilitation of the existing hotels and possibly a new one. So there's lots of people kicking the tires. There is nothing certain at this point.
I had an opportunity to talk to Gary Matthews, there's been speculation in many quarters that Gary is the individual who is interested. And he indicated to me on the phone that he has no specific plans to announce at this point in time, but he is clearly interested, that is his term, interested in a downtown hotel. Big Al's has requested to move. There obviously is a plan of some kind to put a hotel on that block, and also there are plans to renovate the Pier Marquette. And you have nothing more to announce?
No, sir, I do not. I didn't know Al was thinking about a hotel.
He's Big Al's been here for too long. So, as a downtown hotel owner, and there are just a handful of downtown hotels, what's your take on having a full-service hotel adjacent to the Civic Center with a walkway?
I don't think it's a bad idea at all, and if anyone could do it, it would be Gary Matthews to pull it together. I frankly don't think the economic conditions right now are ripe for this to happen. I've said both publicly and privately to a lot of people, H, that the hotel probably should have been built when the Civic Center was expanded. I think a critical error was made in expanding the Civic Center without the adjacent hotel, because we find ourselves with a more expensive building to heat and cool, and we don't have the capacity to bring in the larger convention because of the lack of hotel rooms. So it's a little of the chicken and the egg type thing, and in the meantime, 5 or 6 or 7 more hotels have gone up, which makes it more difficult.
Peter, you're with the Civic Center.
But the Civic Center expansion didn't hinge on the hotel. We had clients in our exhibit hall who had to spill out into our cold, unheated hallways to have room. Now we have room for them to hold their farm shows and the port shows and things like that. We had 40 employees down in our basement in cinder block rooms without windows. Now we have one central office building where they're all together, all the employees in the building under one floor, 2 floors, and it's very good for the economics of the Civic Center to run it. We have now a ballroom, 27,000 square feet, where we used to have to turn conventions away from our exhibit halls. Now we can put these events upstairs and not fill the exhibit halls. It's been very successful that way, and we're very glad to have the carpeted sound, state-of-the-art sound system for the weddings and conventions
Peter,
and dinners.
the question is the hotel. Your sales staff says that that conventions are not coming in
Absolutely.
because there isn't sufficient hotel rooms in downtown Peoria. The Civic Center has expanded. Do you want a downtown hotel, an additional downtown hotel?
As you know, we plan our conventions, most of them 3 years out, and we usually deal with convention planners. They will not look at Peoria because we do not have an attached hotel or enough hotel rooms in most cases. We have the capacity now to compete with Indianapolis, Des Moines, Madison, Wisconsin, Aurora, Normal's coming online, and we just don't have the hotels to do it. And if we did have that, I think they would pay more attention to Peoria and consider Peoria for their conventions.
Before I ask Bill for his take on whether there should be an additional downtown hotel, let's discuss what the HIZ is, the Hospitality Improvement Zone, real quickly.
Well, this is there are two programs within this hospitality improvement zone. One is the TIF, tax increment financing, and the other one is the business development district. Both of these entities last for 23 years. The TIF captures the new property tax created by new reinvestment in the area, which would be if the three existing downtown hotels improve or expand, we would capture that new additional property tax, and we could put some of that back to the hotel to help facilitate the deal. The business development district permits the city to invoke a new up to 1% sales tax and a new up to 1% hotel tax. And our plan is to do that and rebate those funds back to the hotels to help them improve.
And the overall term is HIZ, Hospitality
Yes.
Improvement Zone.
Yes.
Knowing that there's an HIZ in downtown Peoria, knowing that there very clearly a serious discussion about a new full-service hotel that may or may not be directly connected to the Civic Center, as a owner of the Ramada, removed from downtown, what's your take?
Well, probably my take is obvious. I know that the city has done a lot of studies for that hotel and see, if we need it in Peoria. The studies up to last year said that we did need it. The economy since last year has changed dramatically. And in my opinion, I think we need to do a new study. If we really need a hotel, then I'm all for it. If we don't, then why have it? We can utilize the money that we have in the city to build other things that could attract people into Peoria. They don't have to be conventions. They could be just visitors. We have nothing in Peoria that attracts visitors. Again, according to Bud, we expanded the Civic Center and we did not build a hotel. That was the mistake. We should have built the hotel then. Today, is it really needed again? There has been few hotels that built in the last year or two. What we need to do is reassess the studies and try to see whether we need that hotel or not.
Well, let's assume we do need a hotel. An HIZ has been approved. Is that fair? Because the HIZ is restricted to downtown Peoria.
Honestly, I don't think so. Because I live in Peoria, I pay my taxes in Peoria. I don't get any benefits out of it because my hotel is not in Peoria. So, and I know there's
Not in downtown.
Downtown.
not in downtown Peoria, but and I know that there's quite a few people in the same boat. They feel the same way. We are in Peoria. We're paying the same place. We're living in the same place, but we don't get to have the same benefits.
Why create an HIZ for downtown hotels only?
This is a complicated issue, and I suppose in an ideal world, everything would be a level playing field and you wouldn't have to do these techniques. But in our case, we are the premier city for mid-state Illinois conferences and conventions. So we attract people from Chicago and St. Louis, and center of the state. That's a good place to be. East Peoria has created a great property with Embassy Suites. It's an attached conference center with a very nice hotel. They did that with the same incentives we're talking about here. The town of Normal is doing the same thing. They're creating a great product that will also take some of that conference and convention business from here. And then Springfield, although they haven't done a new hotel, the Abraham Lincoln Museum has created a great asset to also take more mid-state conventions and conferences. And then finally, Tinley Park. I worked on that one 10 years ago, although that's much closer to Chicago. It's still south of the city, and it takes some of the conferences and conventions that used to come here. So our competitors have created better mousetraps. And we have an outstanding civic center. Our facility is better than anybody else's, but the lack of the attached hotel and the top quality hotels close by have heard it. So the idea of this is to help those hotels compete with these other products. And our hope is that they will land enough business that it will help the outlying hotels rather than hurt them.
That's only during those convention times.
Yes.
Now, outside those convention times, which probably could be also a handful of times, a handful of weekends, outside of those conventions, if say I am a visitor to Peoria, I have business to do in Peoria, so I stayed at the Mark Twain Hotel or I stayed at the Holiday Inn, and I bring my family with me. I go to my meeting all day long. What would my wife and kids do during the day? Give me two things that they can do during the day.
They can walk down by the river. They can go to the
Is that it?
Riverplex. They can go to the ballpark when it's open. They can go to the
look
zoo.
at the beautiful,
Wildlife
clean
Park,
river.
Walk along the.
Why don't we concentrate on doing some type of attractions in downtown Peoria to where on a daily basis there should be something. I can bring my family. I live in Peoria. Why can't I just take my family and go somewhere and enjoy an evening with them? There is nothing. If I don't gamble, if I don't go to the Riverboat Casino, if I don't go to Big Al's, if I don't go to places like this, there's nothing I can do in Peoria.
Well, as Craig did say, the Ball Stadium is downtown, and I think that's family friendly, and a lot of people do bring their
That's
families
it.
to that. The Riverplex, there are a few things, but I think you make a good point, Bill. I think one of the things that, frankly, we're in this mess, and hotels and incentives, as Craig says, it's not a perfect world. And I called for this, if you recall, Wayne, when I was mayor, a greater cooperation regionally, in central planning regionally. I called it Peoria America because people come to the Peoria area to recreate, to do whatever. And it doesn't matter what side of the river you're on. If someone comes to the Civic Center, it helps all the hotels. But we have no coordination in our planning. And so therefore East Peoria does the Embassy Suites and the Conference Center. Now we're scrambling to catch up. And it's not an ideal situation.
Peter.
Well, we had a study done in 2003, 2005, 2006. The HBS study in 2006 looked at the business that we were turning down and lost, and then they said that if all the hotels, downtown and outlying, were set at 62% occupancy, within 5 years, if we got back that business, they would be at around 69% occupancy. So they did show that a hotel attached that would attract some of the new business we lost would increase all the outlying areas and help the hotel region.
I know Bill wants to respond to this.
I'd like to respond to this because just a couple of weeks ago in the Times, they were talking about the global hotel occupancy projected for 2009 going back 4.4%. Now, according to them, they have not seen this low occupancy since 1988. Do we really need to build another hotel and just add to the statistics? Honestly, if you do a study today and that study says we will succeed, just build it, then I'm all for it.
It's a very valid point. We are seeing the slowdown in the entertainment industry, rock groups, country rock, the shows that are coming down, they're all holding back, slowing down, not going out, and so.
But we have studies until 2006. Today is 2008, almost 2009. The economy is terrible. Yeah. The market is.
The other phenomenon we found out after 2001, September 11th, is all of a sudden these conventions didn't want to go to the big cities. They wanted a cheaper product, and so a lot of them came down to Peoria, and we attribute a lot of our increase in attracting new business
for security purposes.
People not wanting to go to McCormick Place,
right,
but coming down to Peoria because the expenses of housing people and holding it here are a lot less.
Right.
Let me bring another dimension to this. I talked to Jim Schmidt, who puts together the Illinois Farm Bureau's annual convention. It's a big one. It has 2,000 attendees, 1,200 room nights for 4 nights. The Civic Center is big enough. There are not enough rooms. They need 1,200 rooms. We can provide a little over 600 in downtown. They tried shuttling using something like a Ramada. They did that in Springfield several years ago. That didn't work. What happened was they lost the connectivity. There was no benefit of sharing because they were in removed hotels. There were 10 hotels in Springfield. Tim Lamont, who works for Helms Briscoe, that's a third-party organizer of conventions, And Tim said that they need proximity to the Civic Center, need to be able to walk there, if not directly connected. They need the convenience of that, and they need to promote networking. One other number I want to pass along. The Peoria Area Convention and Visitors Bureau claims that there are 45,000 lost room nights in business. That doesn't mean that if we had a downtown hotel, all 45,000 rooms would come here, but there is interest on the part of many, many organizations. They all cite the same reason for not coming. Primary reason is proximity of full-service hotel rooms in downtown Peoria. So we need a hotel downtown. We need a full-service hotel with significant number of rooms, but it seems from what I'm hearing, that's unfair to the outlying hotels, especially considering there's an HIZ in place for downtown. Can we have an HIZ for the outlying hotels?
Well, if an area is deteriorated enough that it would, you could justify a TIF or a business development district, yeah, we could do that. I mean, that's something we could look at. I think if you look at economic development in America, it's the older central cities that are tough to do business in. And it's true in Peoria. We've got suburban hotels and suburban development everywhere. What's tough to get is redevelopment in the old city. And that's because it's more expensive. It's harder to acquire the properties. There's environmental problems. There's infrastructure problems. It's much easier to go out to a green grass site and build almost anything than it is to go back into an existing urban development, acquire property, and build. And that's why you see these kinds of incentives where cities care deeply about their central business district. It's really the heart and the core and the historic part of Peoria. You want to reinforce that and make it better again, and that's part of this whole package.
Devil's advocate, the Holiday Inn, the Pierre Marquette, the Mark Twain are not in terrible shape. And the Ramada, sitting out by the mall, it's in no different shape than them, as far as I know. I mean, structurally. So could the Ramada have an HIZ?
The
What's the
Ramada's
difference?
in good shape. You've done a good job on it, so you can't rate a TIF unless the property's under substantial stress.
The Pierre Marquette got the TIF, they got the HIZ.
Well, the HIZ fit. I personally did the study with our outside consultant, and the HIZ area, when you walk it, you'll see that there's a lot of infrastructure problems and a lot of deterioration on buildings, especially behind the buildings. When you get in behind off the alleys, when you're driving down the main drag, everything looks great. It doesn't look so good from behind. And it qualified, for sure.
Would you be amenable to a HIZ?
Well, any help would help. You know, anything I can get, I'll take. You know, but what's happening in downtown is already said and done. You know, there's nothing anybody can do about it anymore. But to have some help from the city is always greatly appreciated. You know, we need the help. The property is not in top notch. It needs a lot, as a matter of fact. Maybe not structurally, but everything else, you know.
The one thing I would add is the HVS study that we conducted back in 2006 when we were looking at a new 250-room hotel. It projected that the Embassy Suites, when it came online, and the impact varied by property and by year, but in big round numbers, it was something like 4% hit to the Holiday Inn and to the Pier, and less so, I think, for the Mark Twain. And that seems to have come to pass. And the impact was projected not to be too great on the outlying properties. You know, it's a different market. And their projections also on this new 250-room hotel in downtown, it had impact on the other downtown properties, primarily the Pier and the Holiday Inn, but much less impact in the Embassy Suites, the properties right in downtown, much less properties on the outlying areas. So it's a different market.
I agree with that. It is a different market until the economy gets worse and worse.
Mm-hmm. But it's
And
going to
then-
get better, though. You got to be optimistic.
You know what? If it gets better, we don't need this discussion. Really, if the economy gets better and we have, I don't know, 20,000 more people coming every year to Peoria, then why are we talking about it? We don't need it. You know, we don't need build 2 hotels. But until then, when the Civic Center is gonna hurt so much that they're gonna take any type of package or any type of convention or a wedding, or when the Embassy Suite is going to hurt so much that their room rate is going to be just like mine, then we have a problem. But is it going to happen? I don't know. You know, but what if it happens? Mm-hmm. Then what? Do we have to My mother always tells me, do I have to sit in a cemetery and hope I don't get any nightmares? No, you know what? I don't need to. I don't need to, let's put some facts on the table. Your studies were done up to 2006. We are in 2009 almost. We have a bad economy. Let's do another study. If that study says, yes, we need a hotel and it's not going to hurt anybody else, then let's do it. But to build a hotel and make taxes for the city, but close down 5 other hotels, then we have not accomplished anything because you lost the taxes from the others.
Well,
there's-
let's talk about that in closing 5 other hotels, if that were to come to pass. At the top of the show, we talked about, are there too many hotels in the Peoria area? There are 2 under construction in East Peoria. There's a couple out at Shops at Grand Prairie. There's a couple on the drawing board. Do we have too many hotels?
One of them is already in the talks of closing down. The Radisson Hotel, apparently, it's not in a very good shape.
Western Avenue Hill.
Yep. So, I mean, we're already starting to feel the ripples.
Bub's
you know.
been in the business quite some time.
I think the market will tell you that very shortly. I believe that we're looking at a tough year ahead of us. Video conferencing, the rise in fuel prices, it's down now, but who knows where has pushed this. There's a lot of reasons that the whole hotel industry is going to go through a tough 2 years ahead of us. I don't think the market's there. I would not put money in a downtown hotel if someone came to me and said this was a good investment.
Would you put it in an outlying hotel?
I probably wouldn't put it in any hotel right now because I think, as Bill said, there's factors going on in the business right now as we speak that are not good. Now that doesn't mean we'll sort ourselves out at some point in time, and it always will recharge. But I think the talk is premature, and I think the studies will probably point to that at this point in time. It's not saying it won't come.
Historically, the numbers for Peoria hotel tax collections, this is the part of the HRA tax. For 4 years, from 2002 to 2005, it was static at about $1.6 to $1.7 million. 2006, it jumped up to $2 million, a $300,000 increase. Last year, 2.2, a $200,000 increase. This year, so far, up through August, it was on a good, steady pace. We're expecting that to change?
Anything could happen. By the way, and this year we increased the taxes by 1% or 0.5%. We were collecting only 11.5%. We are now collecting 12%. So
Total?
yes. So the taxes have increased. So those numbers, I mean, we cannot compare them to last year's because they are a little bit inflated by the increase.
Let me turn to,
Plus,
go
let
ahead,
me
Bud.
just- Let
Surely.
me clarify one thing. You're giving gross numbers or gross receipts of
That's correct.
the tax. There's probably 25% or 20% more rooms over that period of time, too.
Right.
No, and
So-
that's the reason I brought it up is we do have an increase in the number of rooms. That
Right.
just didn't happen arbitrarily.
Right.
There weren't a whole bunch more people
But
staying
the
in these hotels.
same numbers at an existing hotel like mine have not been going up that much.
Let me turn
That's
to,
right.
Let me turn to Peter real quickly. And what happens if we don't build, and I say we collectively, if we don't build a new hotel that gives additional rooms to attract those conventions? What happens to the Civic Center?
The Civic Center will still be successful. It'll still be thriving. We went up 15.9% just this year alone, but we're not fulfilling our mission. Our mission is to revitalize the economic health of downtown Peoria and to keep it going. And we do that through the convention business. We survey everybody who comes to the Civic Center. We survey them if they don't choose the Civic Center. And what we hear over and over again is the hotel issue. They love our place. They love Peoria. They want to come here. It's just a matter, we can't house them enough, or they want to be attached to the facility.
We started with Craig. We're
So
going to go ahead. Real
let
quickly.
me just
15
weigh
seconds.
this. Let me just weigh this issue. So now we have 2 options: either do not build a hotel, and the Civic Center is going to be still successful, doing money, making money, but not getting what you want, or maybe build a hotel and risk closing down 5 hotels to get better at the Civic Center. So
We'll sit on that thought and give Craig 30 seconds to tell us what's the future of a downtown hotel.
Well, your point is well taken about a study. Nobody will finance a hotel without a very detailed study that says it works. And you're right, this is a tough economic time. And sometimes, though, it's good to forge ahead and get your planning done and get ready for when the economy turns. It's also, and there's an anti-cyclical argument that says, let's try to get investment now to create construction jobs and jobs for people in a downturn when it's going to be cheap to build because the contractors are going to be hungry.
So you don't want to tell me about the future of Downtown Hotel. Is that what you're saying?
It looks good to me.
Thank you so much to Bud Greaves, the owner of the Mark Twain Hotel
Thank you,
in
H.
downtown Peoria. Peter Corey, who's chair of the Civic Center Authority. Thank you so much.
Thank you, H.
Bill Fady is the co-owner with the Ramada out by Northwoods Mall in Peoria. Craig Hullinger,
Thank you.
the Economic Development Director for the City of Peoria. Thank you all for being here on At Issue and for the discussion. I wish we had another half hour. Next week, please join us with Cap and Trade in the emissions industry. We might be looking at the future of Illinois coal. That's next week here on At Issue. Thanks for being with us.